New video shows a North Korean defector who managed to escape, even though he was shot 5 times in the process of doing so. This was a 24-year-old member of the North Korean military, and he did defect, and he did manage to cross over to South Korea, and he is receiving medical attention at the moment. He's expected to survive, but this story is insane, especially when you take a look at the video. Take a quick look at that.
You see the North Korean military jeep speeding past checkpoints, heading towards the border with South Korea. Inside, the soldier bent on defecting. As he gets closer to the demilitarized zone, North Korean soldiers reacting from their post, scrambling towards the vehicle. Once the jeep crashes into a ditch near the line that divides the two nations, he sets out on foot, running, as the North Korean guards begin shooting, dozens of rounds fired at the defector, even as he crosses that crucial line to freedom.
At some point there, the North Korean soldiers see him and see what he's doing, and they start firing at him multiple rounds and hitting him, and he still survives enough to crawl to safety to get behind a wall.
Critically wounded, shot 5 or 6 times, heat signature from cameras show 2 South Korean security forces crawling towards the defector to carry him out and evacuate him to a nearby medical center.
So that is great footage, great report by ABC. Check out the link down below for the whole report.
Yeah.
And look, man, that's the fight for freedom. That was amazing.
Oh my God,
he took 5 bullets for freedom. They later took a day later. They fly him to a hospital down past Seoul, South Korea, and they removed 5 bullets from his body.
Yeah, they did remove 5 bullets from his body, and just to give you some more information of how many times they shot at him. According to reports, the soldiers fired at him about 40 times, hitting him with bullets from both pistols and an AK-47. Also, keep in mind that there was the demilitarized zone that he crossed into. And at that point, the North Korean soldiers, based on a ceasefire agreement, are not supposed to be shooting at him, but they did so anyway. And so now there's an argument that they violated the armistice agreement between the two countries. I don't think North Korea cares at all, right?
But look, if you start firing into that zone, you are really risking war. And they did fire into the zone, which they're not supposed to, and they actually physically crossed over as well.
Yes.
So North Korea has a lot of bluster, and they do a lot of missile tests. But generally, they don't cross that zone. If they do, then obviously South Korea is going to cross it back, and then we're back in the middle of a war. So that it was a dangerous moment there. But I think that what they found in the soldier, other than the bullets, is in some ways more amazing.
Oh no, it's insane.
Yeah, because it gives you a sense of what's actually happening inside North Korea.
So doctors discovered a large number and multiple forms of parasitic worms. Some of these parasites were as long as 27 centimeters, about 10 inches long. One type of worm they discovered is typically found in dogs. And the photo that I'm about to show you is of the parasitic worm. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I just want to give you that warning. But with that said, here's a photo of what the doctors pulled out of his intestines. Okay, so they also found out that he is suffering from hepatitis, and it's a form of hepatitis that usually spreads from unsanitary hospitals and things like that.
When they use syringes, they shouldn't use needles, etc. So it turns out that a shocking percentage of the North Korean defectors have parasitic worms in their body. Part of the reason is they use human manure for farming, which you're not supposed to do. And there is easy things you can do to avoid these worms, but they don't have any money. They have nothing. In one case, they did a study of North Korean defectors, and of the women they studied, I think it was all women, 7 out of the 17 had worms in their bodies.
Oh, it's so sad.
And about 10% of the defectors so far have hepatitis B. And it's because they don't take normal precautions that anywhere else in the world that you would take, because North Korea is basically one giant concentration camp. There's 25 million people that live in North Korea. They're hostages to Kim Jong-un and the ruling class in Korea. It is a horrific, nightmarish scenario. And these people are, some guys like this, and by the way, his last name is O. We don't know what his first name is. We know it's not Steve. But people like him are willing to get shot over and over again and risk their lives to just get out of that hellhole.
Yeah.
So North Korea is one of the most intractable problems on the planet. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you start hostilities with them, they could launch all their missiles and kill millions of people at a bare minimum in South Korea, let alone the 25 million people who will get hurt when South Korea, Japan, the United States counterstrike.
Right.
And killing the North Koreans, like Lindsey Graham recently flippantly talked about, hey, it's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
No, you're killing people in a concentration camp. Bombing the North Koreans is terrible. On the other hand, they have enslaved these people for decades. Millions of people suffering under unimaginable circumstances. And so I love to do constructive critique, not just blindly say, oh, that person's bad or that situation is terrible and not give you an answer. But North Korea is a very difficult situation with not a lot of great answers. And I know that war is not the answer, okay? I think the answer is to apply every kind of diplomacy we can to China, which is the only country basically propping up the North Korean regime.
Yes.
And by hook or by crook, we need to get China to agree with us to somehow, without having the North Koreans launch, take out the leadership and free those people. But it is a very, very difficult problem. Watch the Young Turks commercial-free. Download it or stream it. Watch it any way you like at tytnetwork.com/join.